3.
Hello, Governor Otter. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Autumn, and today we will be presenting our Western Rangeland Management Plan for the state of Idaho. Rangeland is a biome of open land that's a combination of grasslands, woodlands, shrublands, and deserts. Vegetation is sparse as the soil is very variable, and there is limited precipitation. In the state of Idaho, rangeland is heavily composed of grasslands, woodlands, savannas, and meadows. Rangeland plants tend to have extensive root systems, so they can effectively gather moisture even in Idaho's driest conditions, and therefore they can adapt to long, hot summers. Rangeland is managed federally and on the state level. Management has many methods in order to predict rangeland trends. This maximizes the value of the land. One example of this is ecological sites, which are areas of distinctive land that allow managers to map areas into sections with similar potential to grow the same specific type of plants. In this way, they can grow and have similar results. Transition models are also created and use frequency measures to assess change and record trends. Rangeland brings economic value to the government through recreation, mining, ranching, energy production, and livestock production. The first component of our plan is livestock as a management tool, presented by Lily.
Thanks, Autumn. I have developed a 10-year management plan for the public rangelands in Idaho that will both prevent undergrazing and overgrazing of the rangelands. When looking at which grazing management system would best benefit the livestock in Idaho, I decided that a rest rotation grazing system would work most effectively. A rest rotation grazing system was developed to restore rangelands by resting one or more pastures for a minimum of 1 year. Rangelands may be divided into pastures to provide control over the time and extent to which plants are grazed. 2 pastures are rested and not grazed for 2 full years. This enhances livestock such as cattle, sheep, goats, and horses, as well as ground nesting birds' habitats. Stocking rates, also known as the amount of livestock on a piece of land at a given time, are then increased on pastures that are not being rested to compensate for the land that is being rested in the pastures. When the stocking rates are increased on the pastures, animal performance and vegetation are able to grow larger and stronger. Allowing vegetation to grow naturally improves a rangeland's ecological site towards the climax state, which is when vegetation has reached a steady rate while growing without being tampered with. Also, increased levels of residual herbage, also known as weeds and vegetation, in the rested pastures benefit wildlife that excel on high levels of plant coverage.
Lily, how do various grazing management systems impact plant composition?
Well, a rest rotation grazing system affects the contribution of each plant species to the amount of vegetation by letting each species of plant in the pasture grow to its full extent before being grazed upon, which lets the plant that grows the fastest contribute most to the pasture.
Thanks so much, Lily. The next component of our plan is presented by Andrew, and he will be speaking about wildfire management.
Thank you, Autumn. Wildfire is a natural occurrence on rangelands. It maintains the health of rangelands. Many organisms, such as pine trees, have adapted to tolerate or even benefit from wildfire. Wildfire is also nature's tool for consuming dead and decaying biomass that accumulates on rangelands over time. Many people don't know what a prescribed burn is, but prescribed burns are man-made fires during the cooler months of the year to rid rangelands of decaying material. They are made in cooler months in order to avoid hot, dry, and windy conditions that cause the rapid spread of fire. Another answer for how we can get rid of biomass on rangelands would also be through livestock grazing instead of prescribed fires. Livestock grazing can reduce biomass and reduce the use of wildfire to get rid of biomass because through the organisms eating the accumulated decaying material. People over time have been suppressing fires, and this is a bad thing. Fire suppression is bad because it can negatively impact landscapes. Fire suppression also accumulates fuels that increase the risk of highly intense fires known as crown fires, which ultimately hurt humans as seen last year in California.
Andrew, what's the difference between prescribed burns and wildfires?
Well, that's a good question, Autumn. Wildfires naturally occur from things like lightning strikes, but lately they have been occurring because of unintentional, man-made foolishness, where prescribed burns are man-made but intentional and well-maintained.
Thanks so much, Andrew. The next component of our plan is presented by Mike, who will be speaking about noxious weed control.
Thanks, Autumn. Noxious weeds are becoming more present in Idaho's ecosystem, and they may signal the decline of the watersheds. They also damage the beauty to Idaho's ecosystem, and there are almost 70 different species of noxious weeds. When left uncontrolled, they spread rapidly and in large numbers, and it's important to take action because they're damaging Idaho's ecosystems greatly. They cause these damages by choking off waterways and fouling recreational sites from use, as well as poisoning plants and animals. It's important that we educate the public out by getting the word out on these noxious weeds so that people know which ones are harmful and which ones are less harmful. Report sightings to any Department of Weed Control districts in your area, and you can pull them and dispose of them yourself if they are not harmful. It's key to locate the infestation because it is vital to stop the spread of these noxious weeds. The Department of Weed Control can use chemical treating or other various methods to remove and stop the spread of any noxious weeds.
Mike, how do noxious weeds damage ecosystems?
Well, Autumn, they damage ecosystems by fouling off recreational sites from use, choking off streams and waterways, poisoning plants and animals, damaging species and habitats, and creating wildfires.
Thanks so much, Mike. The final component of our plan will be presented by Mary, and she will be speaking about wildlife.
Thanks, Autumn. Some common wildlife in the rangelands of Idaho include bison, elk, pronghorn, deer, cattle, sheep, goats, horses, and rabbits. Some common birds in the rangelands include the sage grouse, quail, pheasants, turkeys, doves, meadowlarks, and falcons. Rangeland ecosystems can change subtly or dramatically from year to year due to factors that cannot be managed, such as climate and weather patterns, invasive species, or habitat destruction. Wildlife habitat needs vary from species to species, so if habitats are altered, species are affected in a positive or negative way. The sage grouse is the main species of birds that exist in the rangelands of Idaho. It is a 6-pound bird living in the sagebrush plains, best known for their courtship displays in areas known as leks, in which the males gather for their displays. Human impacts and wildfires have disrupted their habitats in the rangelands. The sage grouse prefer areas that are grazed by livestock, showing that livestock grazing can be beneficial to some species. Habitat requirements for many species in the rangelands include food, water, cover, and adequate space-specific needs. Other species of which they can mutually survive with, and food requirements and food available, can determine the forage value of the habitats.
Mary, how do we balance the needs of various species?
Since each species' niche is different, it is impossible to maximize the habitat quality of all wildlife at the same time, so not every species can be at their maximum quality. Trade-offs must occur in which species will interact in different ways in order to survive their best while living in the same habitats. It is important that we protect the habitats of these species in order to maximize their survival in these rangelands.
Thanks, Mary. As you can see, our rangeland management plan offers a sustainable and environmentally friendly solution. Thank you for your time, and we hope you will consider our plan.